There were so many people complaining about their levelers breaking, and I just wanted to find something that worked. I'd like to show you a better way to manually level an RV. At least after 9 years of trying different methods and products myself, this is the process I've found to be the best combination of accurate, safe, and quick. So we're going to walk through a manual leveling process. We'll cover the different methods that can be used at each step. I'll show you what I do, and more importantly, why I do it. Regardless of your experience level, I hope you learned something from the video. So let's get started. You've pulled into your site and done everything you should be doing before leveling, things like checking the site for any hazards, confirming the water runs, the power pedestal works, and checking all your clearances. I go into detail about all of these steps in our full setup video. I'll link to that video down below if you want to check it out later. Once those pre-leveling steps are done and the rig is parked where you want, we can begin leveling the roll and the pitch of the RV. The process of leveling the roll of the RV is the more involved process of the two, and it needs to be done first before you disconnect your tow vehicle. To level sideways, we need to first lift the lower side of the trailer. You can measure a current level on a trim piece or the bumper outside. You can do it on a countertop. When I used a bubble level in the past, I always measured at the floor because at the end of the day, I wanted my floor to be level. But after doing some research, I found a much easier way to check my level. This is the Beach Lane electronic leveling indicator, and it will tell you both the pitch and the roll levels of your RV using an app on your phone. I'm going to talk about this more later in the video at the point in the process where it becomes extremely helpful. But for now, either using an electronic leveler or a bubble level, we've confirmed the driver's side of the trailer is low. Probably the most commonly used product to level an RV sideways are leveling blocks. I've used the Camco Fasten stackable leveling blocks. You can also get these block caps that you place on the top block so the tires are sitting on one flat surface. Another option is the Stack Pad by RV Snap Pads. This is a larger and much heavier duty stackable block. These are also taller, about 1.5 inches without the removable rubber top and 2 inches with the rubber top in place, and they are available in different colors if that's something you're interested in. Now, there is no shortage of leveling block options out there, but these are the only two blocks that I've used, and if I still continued to use blocks, I would recommend either one of these products. Using blocks is very simple. If you think you need to go up 1 or 2 inches, just place 1 or 2 blocks next to the tire, drive up on them, and then check your side-to-side level again. If you need to go higher, both of these blocks interlock, so you can stack them to form a ramp that you drive up on. Another option is just using wood blocks or building your own leveling blocks. I think this is a great idea if you're on a budget or if you just like to woodwork. It will be more difficult to drive up on blocks if you need to get a little bit higher, if you don't have some type of stackable block that you can form into some type of ramping system. Another option is curved leveling ramps, and this is what I use. Most of them will start at a 1/2 inch lift and take you up to a 4-inch lift. So one of the big differences between blocks and ramps is that with blocks you have preset heights. So if you're using 1-inch blocks, you can only raise in 1-inch increments. With ramps, you can better fine-tune the height you want to be at. Because they start at a 1/2 inch, they're easy to get the tires onto, and then you have, in theory, infinite height increments up until 4 inches, of course. Being at perfect level may or may not be a concern to you. I would venture to guess that most RVers just want to be comfortably close to level, but it is worth mentioning in a leveling video. So those are the products you have to level an RV sideways. So let's talk about the next step of the process. If you used a bubble level to determine which side needed to be raised, you kind of have to guess how high to stack your blocks based on the position of that bubble. So with an electronic leveler, it will tell you how high you need to raise the low side. So you just stack your blocks to the height the app tells you, drive on the blocks, and you're good. The downside to this, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, is that with blocks, you still have limited height increments. This is where the combination of an electronic leveler and curved leveling ramps really makes things easy. Now, there's a lot more curved leveling ramps available than there were 5 or 6 years ago. To be honest, I did not switch to ramps from blocks immediately because I heard so many complaints about a very popular company's leveling ramp consistently breaking. My friend Sean from the channel Long Long Honeymoon Stone recently posted a video of his experience with these ramps, so it seems to still be an issue. Now, I've never used those ramps. I don't think it's my place to beat up on that product. I can, however, talk about what I've used, and I've only ever used the Karmtech leveling ramps. Now, the paint has chipped a little over the years, not a big deal to me, but I've never had any structural issues with these. They are tested to 35,000 pounds, as you saw in the beginning of the video, and because these haven't snapped, these are the only curved leveling ramps I've ever used, and therefore the only curved leveling ramps that I can recommend. So instead of guessing how high I need to go with a bubble level, I do this. I place my ramps, jump in the truck, put my phone in the dash cradle, drive up on the ramps, and simply stop when I'm level. It just does not get any easier than that. Now, there is one downside to curved leveling ramps, and that is they will only go up to 4 inches. If you need to go higher than 4 inches at the campgrounds you go to, blocks may be a better option for you. Okay, so moving on, whether you're using blocks or ramps, you've driven up on something, you're at level, and the next step is to chalk the trailer. First, apply your e-brake, hop out and place your standard rubber chocks on the non-lifted side. And quickly, while on the subject of standard wheel chocks, don't waste your time on cheap plastic chocks. You can get a nice set of rubber chocks for almost nothing. These are only $16 a pair, and they'll last you a lifetime. Now, back to the lifted side, in some cases, standard wheel chocks are not going to be effective depending on how high your tires are raised. Once you start getting about 2 to 3 inches off the ground, you're not going to be able to put the chalk against the tire. If the chalk is not against the tire and that trailer starts to move, it has more kinetic energy and could potentially move the chalk. Now, there are some leveling block kits that have a built-in chalk on the top level that sits against the tire. There's also what I call friction chalks that can effectively chalk lifted tires in some situations, but chalking tires up in the air on blocks can be a problem. And this is just another reason I like curved ramps. They come with their own chalks. At least I've never seen curved levelers sold without chalks. I also realize there's probably quite a few people who are only chalking the non-lifted side. For me, I always felt safer chalking both sides of the trailer, and that's what I would recommend doing. So let's continue with the process. The RV is level sideways, the wheel chocks are installed. There's a couple other steps to complete next in the setup process, but in the interest of a leveling video, the next step would be to unhitch from the tow vehicle and level front to back. Leveling the pitch is simply done by raising or lowering the tongue jack until the front of the RV is level with the back of the RV. You can stop and check with a bubble level during this process, or with the Beach Lane app, just hold the phone in your other hand and release the button or stop cranking when you're level. Leveling the pitch is the easiest part of leveling an RV, and I don't think we need to spend any more time on leveling front to back. Okay, we're done leveling. Sort of. Let's talk about X-Chocks for a second. I like X-Chocks for 2 reasons. The main purpose of an X-Chock is to add a little bit of stability while you're walking around inside the RV. And while they're not meant to be used as a standalone chalk, they're actually very effective as chalks. I found this out many years ago when I was new to RVing. I didn't have my checklist created yet. I'm outside on my porch taking pictures of our shiny new RV, sitting in our sloped driveway, only to realize I forgot to install my rubber chocks. So they are definitely effective at chalking, but don't do this. Don't use X-Chocks without first using standard wheel chocks. And this can be especially helpful for the situations we talked about earlier in the video. X-Chocks are also peace of mind when camping on loose stone or gravel, where standard chalks are prone to slipping. So while X-Chocks have nothing to do with the actual leveling process, I always install them at the tail end of my leveling process. So I'd like to share a few tips with you guys. If you decide to go with curved leveling ramps, go with a company that offers rubber anti-slip mats with the levelers. You're applying excessive weight on a curved surface, and the ramps can slide out as you're driving on them if you're on slippery or loose ground. This can happen with any ramp, so get the anti-slip mats, and this is probably something you'll never have to worry about. If you are on a site where you need to level sideways, remember to park the trailer either a foot forward or a foot back from where you want the RV to finally rest. This is usually not going to be an issue, but we've been to some sites where we needed every foot of power cord to reach that pedestal. My power cord would have been short that 1 foot after leveling had I not positioned the RV in the right spot. If you do decide to go with an electronic leveling indicator, I would recommend still keeping a bubble or spirit level packed in the RV. Now, I've had no problems with the Beach Lane leveler, but it is an electronic device. It does require 2 AA batteries. You also need to have have power on your cell phone. So if there's ever a reason you don't have the ability to use an electronic leveler, you still have an old school bubble level as a backup. So the next tip, if you decide you don't want to use an electronic leveler and you still want to use a spirit level, earlier I mentioned I would check my pitch and roll levels on the interior floor. This can be a little time consuming, going in and out of the RV, raising and lowering the entry steps as you do it. Remember, RVs are hand built, so all horizontal lines that look like they should be level are not actually level. So next time your RV is level at the floor, find a spot on the outside that matches the level of the floor inside. It's especially helpful if there's an area up front close to the truck and the tongue jack. It's going to save you a lot of time not having to walk around and inside the RV. This one's for those who are using curved leveling ramps. All the marketing photos you're ever going to see for curved leveling ramps is going to show you this picture-perfect setup. The tires are dead center in between the ramp and the chalk, and there is this perfectly centered cradle underneath the tire that keeps the tire in place. You're only going to get that cradle if you're driving halfway or further onto the ramp. If you need to go up a minimal amount like a half or 1 inch, you're going to quickly notice you won't be able to get the chalk under the ramp. That's okay, you can just use the leveling chalk as a standard wheel chalk on the exposed side. And also, going back to my recommendation on X-Chocks, the good news is that they will fit with the Carmtech leveling ramps, even if the majority of the leveler is positioned between the tires. All products in this video are linked down below. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you consider subscribing, and we'll see you guys in the next one.